Hey fam, welcome back to Tari's Lifestyle and Vlog, and thank you so much for stopping by. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the required documents for your UK citizenship application. But before I go on, if this is your first time of coming to my channel, my name is Tari, and on this channel we'll talk about UK visas and immigration. We'll talk about how to travel safely and successfully to the UK. We'll also talk about how to navigate and settle in the UK as an immigrant. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, then please subscribe, turn on your bell icon so you don't miss out on any of my videos going forward. But thank you so much for stopping by, and to my returning subscriber, thank you all so much for always coming back to watch my videos. Thank you so much. Okay, so like I said, today we're talking about the required documents for a UK citizenship application. So I've done a previous video on how to apply the requirements and the eligibility criteria for UK citizenship application. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put the link up here so you can have a look at that video yourself if you need that information. And today we're going a bit further. We're talking about the required documents. So you've decided to apply for UK citizenship. You've said that you are eligible for application. What documents do you need to provide? Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first document you need will be your proof of identity. That's right. For every visa category, every application you're doing, you're putting in, you need to prove your identity. And the first one for this category also, UK citizenship, you need a proof of your identity. And that could be your passport, your travel document, your BRP card if you have one. You can also use your birth certificate if you have one. Okay, so it's really important. The second document, of course, is your BRP, which I've just mentioned. If you have a BRP card, your biometric residence permit card, say for instance you've had an indefinite leave to stay or remain, you have a biometric residence permit card, you would need that as a proof of your identity. You also need proof of your English language test. Again, I mentioned this in my last video. You need to prove that you can speak English because it's an expectation that you will be integrating with the people in the UK. So you need to be able to speak English because it's an English speaking country. So you need to be able to interact. You also need a proof of your life in the UK test. So when you do your life in the UK test, some people will get a certificate. When I did mine, I got a code, like a reference number, and that's what I use for my application. Okay, so you want to do the test. So the test simply is about life in the UK, what happens in the UK, the history of the UK, the food that the people eat in the UK, and things like that. They just want to test your knowledge of the culture of the UK. Okay, so that's what the test is about. You also need the proof of your indefinite leave to remain if you have one. Remember, we said that in order to be eligible for a UK citizenship, a British citizenship, you must have either indefinite leave to stay, of indefinite leave to remain, indefinite leave to enter, or an EU settlement. So we want to prove. So if you have an indefinite leave to remain, for instance, they want the proof of your indefinite leave to remain. A majority of the time, it would be your biometric resident card that says you've got that. And all this information, you have to fill them on the form. So when you do your application, and in my last video, I said we can either do the application online or we can do it on paper. So we need the information on that form. So whether you're doing it online or on paper, you need to put the information. So when you got your indefinite leave to remain, when it's valid, onto the date, the reference number. So you want to put all that on the form when you apply. You also need the proof of your continuous residence, which I touched briefly as well in my last video. Proof of your continuous residence. So if you've been out of the UK for any period of time at all, you want to put that information on the form. And when you do it, there will be a page that will say, okay, how long or when were you out of the UK? You have to put from so and so time to so and so time. I was out of the UK for this reason, and then from this time to that time. So you need to put all that if you've been out of the UK at all. So proof of your continuous residence. Remember, I said in my last video that if you are applying for the UK, you need to have been in the UK for the last 5 years. To the day that you make your application, you must ensure that you haven't been out of the UK for more than 90 days in the last 12 months, or 450 days for the last 5 years. So that's really important. Anything short of that, if you've been out of the UK for maybe 91 days in the last 12 months, you would not be qualified. You'd have to wait a little bit longer before you can apply. So you need proof of your continuous stay. So things like your bank statements, your pay slip, your P60, letter from your employer. So these are examples of what you can use. Your utility bill is also an example. You can use your passport. Say for instance, you've traveled in and out of a country, there will be stamps on your passport to say this is when this person entered the country and this is when the person went out, or maybe the person has never left the country at all. So those are examples of your proof of continuous residence. It's really important because, like I said, anything short of 5 years, you will not be eligible for that application. You also need to provide details of 2 referees. So these 2 referees must be UK citizens. Okay, so they must be British citizens and they must not be related to you. So these will be people that can prove your identity, people that have known you for some time. Okay, so it's really important. I think it's about 3 years or so, or in that 5 years, I'm not entirely sure. So these people must have known you for that period of time to prove your identity. And what would happen is the Home Office will contact them to say, okay, do you know this person? Can you prove their identity and things like that? Again, they must be British citizens. And the Home Office will usually have a list of people in their website that can actually be referees. Okay, so when you want to apply, you can actually take a look at that for your own benefits. Okay, so it's really important. We need to make sure that all these documents are entered into the application form. The documents that are required are made available. Proof of your English language. Again, you can have an IELTS test, you can have proof of your English language, you can prove your English language by your degree certificate and all of that. Because me, when I did mine, every application I've done, I've always used my degree certificate as the proof of my English language. So it's really important. We need that document. Or for Life in the UK test, you need either the certificate or the reference number to include on there. Even if you put a reference number and you have a certificate, I'll suggest you also put that in as an added document on your application. Once you've done the application, you get the option to upload the documents. Once you've uploaded the documents, then the next thing is that you get an opportunity to get a date for you to go for your biometrics. So you might not get a date immediately, because in my case, we couldn't get a date, so we had to wait for a while before we could get a date, and then we went for the biometric. Once you go for the biometric, it takes about 6 months for you to get a response from the Home Office. Okay, and remember that it might be more or it might be less. It could be more or less depending on your circumstance, and everyone's circumstance is different. Some people have had to wait for 3 months, some people have had to wait for 6 months, some people have had to wait a bit more. But the average processing time is 6 months for a UK citizenship application. Okay, so it's really important that we are aware of that, and your application processing time starts from when you actually go for your biometrics. That's when the processing time starts, not from when you submitted your documents. Okay, so it's really important. Okay, so these are just some of the documents that are required. Majority of the documents we've covered in this video. If you have any additional information, maybe you've changed your name and things like that, there will be opportunity for you to fill the form and include those details on there and all of that. Okay, so it's really important that we get it right. Okay, so if you have any criminal record, you want to make sure you include it on there. If you've been refused a visa, you want to make sure you put it on there, the reason why and things like that, and then it will be considered. Okay, remember that if you have a criminal record, it's not a crime, but failure to disclose it is what actually comes across as a crime, because it comes across as deception. Okay, so you want to disclose it and say, okay, I've got a criminal record, maybe I had a parking fine, or I have a speeding ticket, or something happened, someone did something and I was called upon, okay, for this reason, and they would look at it individually. But if you don't disclose it at all, then that will be seen as a crime. It means that you're not a person of good character. Remember, to get British citizenship, you need to be someone that has a good character, someone of good standing within the community. Okay, so every little information is really important. If you want, you can just add a letter to say who you are, explain any circumstances that's changed that you don't have the opportunity to add onto the form and things like that. Just make sure you put as much information as possible. I always say more is better than less. Okay, but thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has helped you, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends and family, and of course subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. If you have any questions, any videos you think we can talk about, please leave them in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer them on or to do video on them. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next video.